last week we watched the first part of The Origin, Madam Koi Koi, and it didn't meet our expectations at all, but at the same time it left us with some kind of questions. So we had some kind of hope for part 2 that would kind of cover up for part 1, especially since it ended with a little bit of mystery there. And now part 2 is finally here.
Yeah, before we dive into part 2, let's start by recapping what happened in part 1. Amanda came into a new school and she's having these recurring dreams that she does not really understand. And part 1 is just basically titled The Awakening. That means what happened that the spirit of Lady Koi Koi re-emerged from her sleep. So that's basically what the part 1 is about. A girl was assaulted by these 3 outstanding students. So now Lady Koi Koi is up again and out for vengeance.
Part 2 is titled The Spirit of Vengeance. It started with Baba Fawole, the chief security officer at this school, as he shares with the detectives that are investigating the mysterious deaths in this town, the tragic story of Rosemary, now known as Madam Koi Koi, and her demise, and also the events that followed after her death, which includes the banishment of the culprits who assaulted Madam Koi Koi. The culprits were not just banished by themselves. Also, their descendants and family members were asked never to return to that village. This measure was taken to keep the vengeful spirit at bay so that she will not come back and wreak havoc. So while they carried on with their investigation of the reawakened spirit of Madam Koi Koi, this investigation actually leads them to Amanda, who unknowingly holds the key to solving this mystery.
From how it ended, I'm assuming that the origin Madam Koi Koi is done. It ended wholly, did not end in a cliffhanger, except the creators want to create like a franchise, which I don't think is necessary.
I don't think so. I don't even think that this part that was released is necessary.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have much to say about this movie because I did not enjoy it. Part 1 was okay, let's see what you have here. Then part 2 was like, okay, what's going on here? I wish that it was not titled Madam Koi Koi. Yeah. I know that Madam Koi Koi is just like a legend. Yeah. It's not real, and anybody can really play with the story how they want. But the way these people play with the story, I'm not a fan. They even went back to 1940s, how the entire spirit of the vengeance came about. I'm not even impressed. I'm big on story, and I was not a fan of the story at all. The pacing too was very slow. Then the end was just very rushed.
Yeah. They were like, what's going on here when you got to the end of the story?
The part 2 still ran for almost 2 hours, and the end, like, oh yeah, wrap it up. That was like 15 to 30 minutes to the end of the movie.
The entire storytelling technique was not nice. I could take part 1. I didn't enjoy it so much, but I could take part 1, but part 2 was very boring. I slept off while I was watching it. I don't used to sleep off when I watch stories like that would intrigue me or that are exciting. As it started, I was just like, okay, they banished them, hurry up. The pacing was slow. The acting was not even bad. The acting is not a problem here.
The cinematography was not a problem. It's just the story. Even the Koi Koi, we did not hear it.
Giant footsteps.
I was trying to defend them in the part 1, but this part 2, there was no Madam Koi Koi at all. Doof. For people that do not really know Madam Koi Koi story, the story of Madam Koi Koi is about her versus boarding school students or students most of the time. There's some story that whoever she came for vengeance because she was killed unjustly, but at the same time she was attacking students. But this one, it was just, I don't like the twist at all.
You know, you were saying that I would like if it was from the point of view of the young adults,
but I stand on that.
Part 2 was even worse.
Yeah, the part 2, they just sidelined the young adults, and even Amanda's twist, we could smell it a mile away.
Yes, it's no surprise there. It was just there. This movie doesn't have any plot twists. There's nothing mind-blowing. If you are really a fan of this kind of genre, I don't think you'll be impressed by this story.
The horror element, I didn't flinch.
No horror, like even all that chaos happened at the end.
I was expecting some when you're talking about Madam Koi Koi, so that people of the new generation, because Madam Koi Koi, I think, is really wearing off already. You also have chills when you're hearing Madam Koi Koi's story. That was what I was hoping for.
Part 2 just make me weak.
I'll say it again, they would have named it a different name, not Madam Koi Koi. They'll name it something else.
If you wanted to do a ghost story or something, that's fine. The problem is you naming Madam Koi Koi and not giving us what we know about the legend. The general thing.
Not even the sound of Koi Koi we did not hear.
Honestly, I prefer part 1 to part 2. Part 1 at least gave us
something to look forward to.
But part 2 was actually very disappointing.
We even saw less of the 3 boys. It was more of the other adults.
There were a lot of unnecessary scenes in this thing, unnecessary dialogues. Yeah.
To me, there was no need for a part 2. They would have just done part 1. Finish your story under 2 hours and let us rest.
I agree with Voke. Voke is correct. I will not even recommend this film for anybody at all.
But we waited part 1 3 stars.
But this one, I'm going to give it part 2 1 star.
Me too, 1 star.
It was not memorable at all.
I was hoping I would laugh about these stories and talk about it. Have you seen Madam Koi Koi? What do you think? We love to hear your comments all the time.
And do not forget to like and share, and also subscribe to our channel for everything movies and your TV recommendations.
Until next time, do take good care of yourself.
Goodbye.
Bye.